Hi again everyone, welcome back to my channel, Bear from Bear Reads Books. Time for the reveal for my pool books for the Booktube Prize. So there's several videos coming out today. So just to be clear, there'll be videos about my reaction to the movement to the quarterfinals, so the octafinals results. There'll be my reviews of all 6 books, so that one single video with a mini review of all 6 books. And then this one is really just to tell you what my rankings are for my pool, as well as to let you know what the result of this pool was. You can also find the results of the pools if you watch Robert's video, which I'll link to down below again. But really, let's have a look at these 6 books that I've read over the last 2 months. Let's go in order of how I read them. So first up, I read Tracy Chevalier's A Single Thread, and have a look at the book review of that. It was a thoroughly surprising book to me. I thought I would hate it. In fact, for the first 20 pages I thought, this isn't for me. This is about embroidery and I'm going to hate it. And I absolutely loved it. It was the most charming book I've ever read in my life. It was just super charming. Second, I read The Dutch House. Again, thoroughly charmed the pants off me. It was a fantastic book. Next I read Gods of Jade and Shadow, which again I thought, this is not for me, this is not the type of book I normally read, and it challenged every perception I had and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So many of these books I just thoroughly enjoyed. I didn't expect to like, basically it's the same review for all of them. I didn't expect to like it, but I did. Next I read Ghost Wall by Sarah Moss. And it was probably the one that I ranked lowest. I thought it would just scratch the surface and really needed to do more. And lastly, Women Talking by Miriam Toews I read last year and I didn't reread. I just spent some time flicking through and reminding myself how the story progressed, and then made some time to make some comparisons between the other books. And the last one on the list, right before the cutoff for the end of the month, was Kylie Reid's Such a Fun Age, which I thoroughly enjoyed as well. I think that's all 6. Yes, that is all 6. So my rankings were as thusly. Is that a word? Number 1, I ranked The Dutch House by Ann Patchett, my new favourite author. Really, since reading this, I listened to the audiobook narrated by Tom Hanks, which was amazing. I've bought the book separately again to give to my family because it is such a good book, and I've also gone and read Commonwealth, the book prior to this, also by Ann Patchett. And I must have come across as quite excited because Natalie from my reading days has picked it up and read it as well. So my new favourite author, Ann Patchett, and this was amazing. Family drama at its absolute best. Ranked number 1. Ranked number 2, and this really surprised me, was Tracy Chevalier's A Single Thread. I ranked it number 2. I really didn't expect to like this. As I said, first 20 pages it's all about a spinster who decides to join an embroidery group, and oh my god, it's just not for me. But really, such a charming book, charming characters, beautiful scenery and setup, and just there is so much more going on in this book than a spinster learning how to embroider. There's all the political happenings around the war in the interwar years. There's all this sadness because of all of the people that they've lost in the war, and then you've got this woman who would desperately like to find someone that loves her, because everyone sees her as a spinster, and it's just so touching and charming. Really. I don't have it to hold up. I had a different copy. So that was ranked number 2. Number 3 I ranked as Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid, and again, didn't expect it to fall in my top 3 because I'd already read Women Talking and thought, Women Talking is going to be the top of my list. And then after I ranked them, Women Talking didn't even get in the top 3. So Such a Fun Age was number 3. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It had so much to say about modern relationships and about race in America and about casual racism. I think I've said this before. Really blew me away. And the writing was just so clear and concise and crisp, just beautiful. So that was my top 3. Fourth was Women Talking. And as I said, I loved this when I read it back in October, November last year, and thought instantly when it showed up on my pool list that it would have been at the top, if not 1 or 2. And it's still a great book, but this is in a pool of great books, and it was so hard to rank them all. So this ended up as number 4. And for such a phenomenal book, that was such a surprise to me. Number 5 for me was Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. Again, it talks about Mexican mythology and dark spirits and demons and things like that. It's really not the sort of book that I would normally read, and thoroughly enjoyed it. Absolutely enjoyed it. But again, it comes in at number 5 because this is such a strong pool of books. And when I first saw the list, and I didn't even know half the books on the list, never heard of them before, I thought, just a bunch of rubbish. But they're such a strong pool. Silvia Garcia Moreno-Garcia, has written an amazing book. And I hope it gets wide appeal, because I think because of the subject matter it might not. But I would really like to see it get broader appeal than just the fantasy or the YA kind of crowd. So that was number 5, which leaves Ghost Wall by Sarah Moss as number 6, which has itself received high praise all over the place. I thought it didn't do enough. It is a thin volume, but I've reviewed a ton of small books on this channel. You can do a lot with a really small book. I thought this grazed the top of things and didn't really get into the meat of stuff. All by itself, I think it was a really interesting story, and if I wasn't comparing it to these other 5 books, I think I would have felt better about it. Standing it by itself, I thought I would have enjoyed it more. But when I'm forced to compare it and rank it against these other 5 books, it ended up at the bottom. But I don't think it's a bad book. It was long listed for the Women's Prize for Fiction in 2019. It obviously got on this long list for a reason. But I do think it is flawed. I think it could have done a lot more with what it had. And even if it was a longer book, give me another 50 pages or 100 pages and really flesh some of this characterization out and really flesh some of the plot out, I think it would have been a much better book. But against all of these other books, it ended up as number 6. So, say it again. Number 1, Dutch House. Number 2, A Single Thread, Tracy Chevalier. Number 3, Kylie Reid's Such a Fun Age. Number 4, Miriam Toews' Women Talking. Number 5, Silvia Moreno-Garcia, Gods of Jade and Shadow. And number 6, Ghost Wall by Sarah Moss. It was fantastic. Now, before you go, what happened with the Booktube judging for this pool? Well, this was number 1. Well, they don't rank them, but the 3 that got through was this, which I had number 1. Tracy Chevalier's A Single Thread, which I had number 2, got through, which I was again surprised about. And number 3, the third one that got through on this pool, is Miriam Toews' Women Talking, got through to the quarterfinals. So the ones that are out is Such a Fun Age, Kylie Reid, which I'm super surprised about. I thought this would have had a broader appeal than, not for me, but for a larger proportion of the Booktube judges. I thought this would have had broader appeal than even the Dutch House and Tracy Chevalier. So leaving this out is the big surprise for my group. I'm happy that Tracy Chevalier and Anne Patchett got through. Happy that Miriam Toews got through. But I'm surprised that Kylie Reid didn't. So the ones that miss out Kylie Reid's Such a Fun Age, Ghost Wall by Sarah Moss, and Gods of Jade and Shadow. Those didn't get through. So now we get a brand new fiction pool and brand new non-fiction pools. And I've been assigned fiction pool, I think C, and in a separate video I'll go through the 6 videos for the non-fiction books I'm going to be reading. I don't own any of them. So in this time of isolation and online shopping, I'm going to be buying 6 books. So, yay, book haul coming. Enjoy your day, everyone, wherever you may be, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.